Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Taking the Leap. This April series has been such a pleasure, and I've had so many fun friends as guests who have joined me this month to talk about a high vibe chat around what it takes to take the leap and what that involves. And we've had different people come on with different varying careers, and I'm super excited to invite in my next guest today, and I'll be inviting him in a moment. But yes, so basically each week I'm talking with a guest about just what that means. We all have a story and we all have a passion and we all have a Dharma, right? So with these passions and Dharmas, it's really hard to eventually leap and take that leap into this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pour everything into it. I'm going to make this happen. And it can be really scary. There can be varying stories along our path as we do this and journey, but also, it's interesting, and everyone's story is really inspiring about the bumps along the way, along the journey, and also, the smooth parts and how it's not always smooth sailing, whatever that looks like. And so that entrepreneurial world is exciting and also takes us on a lot of different rides. So let me just invite in my next guest today. I think I've gotten, wrong button. I'm going to ask Joe to come in. He should be here in a moment. Joe, how are you?
Oh, how are you?
I'm good. You look great.
You look great. You look like you're sparkling a little bit.
I know. I have a little filter on that's sparkling. You can do that too. If you click down somewhere, you can find. I'm putting on sparkles today.
Already vibrating. I see a lot of my DJ people. I just sent out a blast to like 1,200 DJs, and it looks like all of them are on here. So what's
All
up?
right. All right. Cool. Excellent. Yeah. So let me introduce you. So this is my friend Joe Bunn. He is the owner of Bunn DJ Company in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I had the pleasure of meeting Joe last year in Key West when you were on a trip visiting a mutual friend. And pre-closures, like right when things were shutting down, you almost got stuck here, which wouldn't have been a terrible
Wouldn't have
thing.
been terrible. Stuck in Key West is not the worst thing that could have happened. But yeah, we were, Lesson and I were down there shooting with Darren at Catch the Mania Trivia and Malaika and another guy named Nick Stryker. And every day the news got worse as I was working out in the hotel gym. I was like, this is not good. We need to get this footage and get back to Raleigh. So that was the last trip I took last year. That was it.
We had that epic fish dinner with
Yes,
all the fish caught.
We caught fish and then we cooked it that night, and it was the best ever.
That was the best. That was the best. So, just to give a little snapshot about how we know each other. And Joe is just someone that I follow on Instagram who just has so much energy, so much pizzazz, so much raw, authentic. I'm just going to beef you up a bit here. But that's what I see anyway. I see that. I see somebody who just hustles, loves what they do. And, that entrepreneurial mindset of what can I create now? What can I create now? How can I gather more people to excel in this area or that area? And I think it's amazing. I love following you and your family too. And I invited you on today. Thank you so much for being my guest.
Yeah.
And this month has been dedicated to the topic of taking the leap and what that means, and how we all have very different stories about, especially in the entrepreneurial world and mindset of just finding something you really love. You can't really walk away from it because it's a part of you, and then you make it your world. You make it part of a business. You make it part of a community or whatever it is, and you're living your passion, and how that's not always easy. And there's tons of bumps along the way. And some years we smooth sail and some we crash. And either way, something brings us back all the time. So you're someone I would just love to hear from. And I'm glad that we're all listening here today. And this will also be posted on my YouTube channel as well.
Yeah.
For view whenever. But I'd love for you to describe a little bit about, what it is that you do, of course, and what you love, but also to take us back to maybe the origin or maybe the friction of where you really had to say, I'm done, and this is what I'm going to put my energy into. So that's sort of what I'd love to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that the occupation of being a DJ, back when I was in my teens or even in college, was always considered a hobby or something you did when you were in high school or college.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I took that mentality, and wrote it. You know what I mean? I was like, when I got out of college, like I found this old T-shirt the other day from 20 some years ago, and it said DJ Joe Bunn, the final year tour. And it was 94 when I graduated from college. And I was like, it's over. You know what I mean? Like that was a fun run. Now I'm supposed to be an adult and I'm supposed to get a real job. And that's what I did. I started this company, this mail order company, doing these hats and T-shirts, these collegiate hats and T-shirts, and we thought we would be rich. This was way before internet shopping. Like we actually had a catalog, and we mailed it out, and we got orders, and we shipped them out, but it was underfunded, and eventually those catalogs and they go out of date, and you got to make minimum orders, and it just didn't work. And so I lost a quick 25, 30 grand. And, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Now what am I supposed to do? So I started going back to DJing, and I was living at the beach at the time because we were like, if we have a mail order company, we can live anywhere. We might as well live at the beach and ship from there. And so, we're basically shipping, from the beach. And when the money kind of ran out, I was like, I guess I need to go back to doing what I used to do, DJing, and went back to the bars and the beach bars and the clubs, playing. The guys I was in the hat company with kind of left and moved on and went into finance and other, quote unquote, real jobs. And I just kept playing. I was still, relatively young, still obviously in my early 20s, and still felt good and making good money, and, didn't have a lot of bills or responsibility, had roommates. And so I kept doing that, but I eventually ended up moving out of Wilmington back here to Raleigh 20 some years ago. And even then I was like, okay, now I'm starting to get older. Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Did a bunch of other things, took jobs with Red Bull and Camel cigarettes, and got my real estate license, and just was like trying these like little things that everything I hated. I don't like it. Why am I doing this? Still in there in the mix, playing, music at these bars and nightclubs. And finally I remember, saying, I'm going to make a run at this. Like I'm going to stop telling people I'm booked and start hiring other DJs. So when people call on and I am booked, okay, I'm going to call Greg. Okay, I'm going to call Randy. I'm going to start this agency. Sat down, talked to my dad about it. He was in a family business. My grandpa started this rope company, whatever, 100 years ago. My dad started there as a little boy. I worked there some summers as a little boy. Every year since, here I am damn near 50. He's asked me, do you want to come work at the rope?
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't want to work at the rope company. I'm pretty happy doing what I'm doing, to be honest with you. And so it just went on. And I was like, I'm not going to go into the family business. I had this idea to start a DJ company. And I think the numbers that I showed him, or this business plan that I'm sure some, business coach, resume writer had helped me write, was super conservative. And he was like, no, you can't hit those numbers. This looks crazy. Like you can't, nobody can DJ and support a family, which at the time I didn't even have a family. I was like, you're not going to be able to do this. Like my dad straight out, these numbers you're never going to hit these numbers. And they were, again, incredibly conservative compared to what we end up doing now. And I don't know if that discouraged me or probably more so inspired me.
Inspired you. Yeah.
And I just was like, well, I'm doing it anyway. I'm going for it. I don't like any of these other jobs that I've taken. I love this. I feel like it can be huge. And the rest is kind of history, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I had the similar thing. And I love that you said that too, with like, you can't make a living doing that.
Sure.
Because when I was leaving my social work career, what I had previously before I switched to teaching yoga and personal training full time, and at the time, and especially in my family, it was like unheard of that you would like do something on your own, like you would get a job, right? So it was just, I just was like, I don't know what else to do. I guess I'll just try to teach full time. And I remember hearing at the time people just be like, you can't make a living that way, Malika. And I was like, well, like, and then it did. It made me go, really? I'm going to
Yeah.
try to make that happen.
Right. Oh,
It was discouraging.
Right.
But it also was like fiery. Like, I was like, oh, really? Like, well, maybe I can. Like, who says I can't? And then that, I almost broke my back doing it because I was just teaching. And then I got, it evolved more into different things. And,
Sure.
but yeah, I love that you just said that because I can relate completely to like that friction of like, well, who says I can't? Like, who makes these rules? Like, can I design something and fly with it? And like, because I love it. This is what I want to spend my energy doing. And so I love that you just said that. Yeah. Wow.
DJ people in the chat, I see you guys. I appreciate y'all being on, and make sure you follow her to because she does really cool things and workshops, and she will she will bring the zen to your very hectic life sometimes. So make sure you follow Malaika as you're watching this.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Yeah, but yeah, it's such a wild thing, and like the different. So tell me a little bit too. Like, was it you? So you showed these numbers to your father, and he's like, oh.
And then, like you and I were talking about the other day when we were talking on the phone, there were these other like two pivot moments that I've talked about before. There's some people on here I see that are like DJ's Vault members, and they've kind of heard some of this stuff. It is one of those things where I remember early in the business, we had an office space, which was unheard of at the time. No wedding vendor, whether you were a cake maker or a wedding planner or a limo company, nobody had an office. Everybody just worked out of their homes. And I was like, an office space, and we're going to invite people here. We're going to meet with them and show them all the things that we have and do a presentation. And we're going like next level professional. And honestly, there was this huge spike in business. And then everybody eventually kind of started getting an office. But like it was such a pivotal moment that I remember it. I remember looking at the numbers and thinking like, wow, that was actually like a really smart move, Joe. It wasn't this, I'm just going to do it to flex, or I'm going to do it because nobody else is doing it. It was actually like something so different to invite these people into your space to hear about your company that it was almost like revolutionary 20 years. And that was our very first space, not far from here. And I think we've moved 2 or 3 times since, which again is not a bad thing for a DJ company because we are normally just a one and done type customer. Whereas a retail can't hop, skip, and jump all over town. And so that was one thing. And then I distinctly remember the other thing was a major rebrand that we did. And I think that might have been the year after, or maybe 2 years after. And when we did that rebrand again, like I just remember all of a sudden I felt like everybody knew us. And the rebrand was from this really bad kind of equalizer looking logo. And I've told the story where the letters ran together. It just said BUNNDJCO. And I thought it was super cool. It was like mod and it had this equalizer. But it just all BUNNDJCO. Those 8 letters just ran together. And I put up this backdrop at the very first wedding show I ever did. And it was expensive. It's like one of those Geico backdrops you would see at like a trade expo. And hour in, lady walks up, mother of the bride. Excuse me, son. Yes, ma'am. What do bungee cords have to do with weddings? And I was like, oh my, what? And she's like, bungee cords. And she points to the sign. And I'm like, Jesus, I just spent like $5,000 on this. I think I literally threw it in the trash and never used it again. Maybe more than one. There may have been more than one. And that's when I realized it wasn't just one dumb lady. Like, this is a problem. And we hired this ad agency. I don't even know if they're still around. Like back then, I just didn't do a lot of my own marketing. I thought you hired an ad agency or you hired this person. Yeah. And they did the play button logo, which is, it was an iteration of this. The colors and stuff have changed. The shapes changed a little, but it's been this for a long, long time, And and it just exploded. And they had this tagline. At that time, the company was called Joe Bunn DJ Company. It wasn't called Bunn DJ Company because there were no other offices around the country. So I just called it my name. And they came up with this line, I know Joe. And I bet I paid them $10,000 to come up with a stupid I know Joe thing. And it just blew up. Everybody I saw, every vendor in town, every hotel in town, I know Joe, I know Joe, I know Joe. Like every time I saw somebody, they would say that to me. And I'm like, dude, this is like a moment. And it literally was the next huge bump in business was wow. that rebranding. So the office and the rebrand were those two, like, wow, we're doing it.
You're doing it. Yeah, you're doing it. And that's the thing too. A lot of times, and it's come up here on the feed a bit. And you know, when we're starting to do something like that, it's like, whoa. And you do it. It's fearful. It's scary. It's fearful in this exciting way. And I think everyone processes their own fear, obviously, very differently. But there's that like, like I'm doing this, and you gotta kind of like talk to us a little bit more about that. Like, is it easy for you to be like, I'm gonna drop money and I'm gonna do that, and then we're gonna see what happens, or is it like, oh my God, I just spent so much money. Is this gonna work? And you know, and it's just, yes, you have to invest. You have to invest in things to make things sparkle in a way, and also depending on the business. There's also some construction right now going on, so sorry if it's a little.
That's all right. All those videos we made there had construction in the background.
I'm like, there's always work going on down here in Key West, and right now I'm like, really? Someone has to be sanding right now?
While we're doing IG Live. It's a little bit scary, but it's also like what keeps me going. You know what I mean? Like I'll have these crazy ideas like, oh, we're going to shoot mayhem videos today, you know, or we're going to chop the top off this car and put a DJ booth in the back. Like, and I'm just like, well, I don't really care how much it costs because it's in my head and I can't sleep until we make this video or until we do this photo shoot. I'm going to call this graffiti artist, build this giant white wall. He's going to paint these graffiti wings on it. I'm going to wear white jeans, white sneakers, white shirt. And then I'm going to stand there and he'll finish the painting with me in it. And like, people were like, why did you do that? And I was like,
it was in my head.
I don't know. They were like, what did you use it for? I was like, I think I just made an Instagram post and then I just tore it down and threw it in the trash. Like but it was crazy. So I'm sure I was a lot more conservative then, you know, when I didn't money and when I was like growing the company and I was like calculating every dollar versus now it's like we're pseudo successful pre-pandemic. I guess we were very successful. You know, everybody's on this rebuilding year now, but like,
and it gets easier. It gets easier, right? To like
easier
projects, and you know, you have more faith and trust in what's going to come back, and you know. That's sort of like myself too. You get better at trusting yourself with like the next steps you take or the risks that you take with however the direction of your business is to go in. So I feel you with that. Like I've gotten personally way more comfortable with placing deposits down in other countries on venues to host retreats because I'm like, all right, I got this. And if it doesn't work out, I pull out at this date or whatever. And you're constantly shuffling things, but also if it makes you light up. There's like, you can't stop it in a way. You just kind of put it into motion and for a service for good, for music and dancing and high vibes and, you know,
I mean, we are in the same business. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like we're like our job, our purpose is to make people feel better. You know what I mean? Like I make people dance. Like I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm not going to cure cancer. Like you're a master yoga instructor / holistic expert. You know what I mean? Like our job, like really, I feel like my point, like this is my purpose. Like this is why I was put here on this planet was to make people feel better. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's really a privilege if you think about it. It's a privilege to one, love what you do.
Yeah.
And two, to have this pass along type job. You know what I mean? Like I'm not counting anybody else's job that's watching this, but I'm just saying like what a blessing to be able to do something you love every day and also to give so much joy and entertainment to other people, you know?
Yeah, and joy. I love that you say that. It's one of my favorite words, and it's true. You know when you're listening to good music, and you know when you're up there on the dance floor, and you just don't care. You're just like, woo! And You know, it feels amazing. And like you see, and especially in talking to Darren, my partner, who's also a DJ and does weddings, like sitting back and seeing, like he'll talk to me about that. Like, yeah, like you're like creating that for people. And you're like, you have to be creative and in the moment to read the crowd and like what song should we play next. And I love when he starts talking about like, oh, this wedding this night, like this happened and then da 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 da, and then like no one was really dancing, but then like, you know, there's an art to this, and he's got so many years behind him that when he talks about it, it's like, wow, cool. And I remember saying like we do similar things. And like I love how you just brought that up, because yeah, you have people who, whether it's entertainment or helping people breathe collectively together, or you're helping them feel good, and you're in the front and center of like your craft to then deliver that through your body, through your mind, through your creativity and you just create this like, you know,
move. It's just, and a lot of that comes with experience, you know. Darren's a little bit, he's been doing this longer than I have. I mean, like, just now it becomes so natural for us, you know, like start playing, got no playlist, first 3 songs, I know exactly where the night's going to go. Like it's just happening, you know what I mean? Like, but that's the beauty of it, you know, that's the beauty of doing something for this as your career, you know.
It's funny you just said that with the songs, because while we're starting a class, right, and people are usually after class at like a drop-in class, they'll be like, how do you blah blah blah? I'm like, well, over the years of experience and working with bodies and just feeling energy, you know, I know right away. I'm like, oh, I could have a very detailed plan, and it's like, oop, we're doing this instead. It's something that you don't really have words for, and maybe you can relate to this too. It's just, it's in you, and you know exactly where to guide the ship in a way.
I've been to, you know, so many different gyms and classes all over the country. You know, when I travel, I go to these DJ conferences, and I've been to cycling studios all over the country. Like and I was in Montana recently, and they had moved the studio out of this little building into a old movie theater. It was so cool.
And love movie theater.
They needed more space for COVID reasons.
Yeah.
And I went the day, and the instructor was really good. And then I went the second day, and I was like, oh my God, like this girl belongs. This is what she's supposed to do. And so I even sent them an email. I got back to North Carolina. I think they sent a survey. She wrote back. She was like, hey, that was me, Carolyn. I own the studio. And I was like, exactly. Like I could just tell, like songs were better. Passion was more. Intensity was more, like everything about it. I was like,
really aligned.
Yeah, this person's out to do this job potentially forever, you know. It's unbelievable, like how when you see somebody or meet somebody that is truly passionate about what they're doing, they're not phoning it in, you can just tell. Tell.
Yep, there's a flavor to that where you can't make that up. It's like, oh, you're living your Dharma, like amazing. And like you're bringing that wealth of knowledge and experience and creativity and love and joy to like the masses. And like, what a cool thing. That's so neat. That's neat. I love it.
It really is. Shout out to DJs on here. I see y'all. What's going on, everybody? It's like everybody's name has DJ in it. DJ.
I know that. I'm like, DJ Mark T.
He works for me.
Oh, nice. Cool. I'm so glad. Yeah, I'm trying to think too. I mean, we talked about, you know, fears and like moving past fears and just going for it from the beginnings of just like, you know, your logo and then bungee cord to, oh my gosh, I got to change that, to then just an effortless flow of just that confidence that builds up, and just how we navigate the winds, really, especially these times we've just been in, and especially in the entertainment business, and all the hardships around like things being canceled and events. It's been really difficult, and just coming out of that and seeing light at the end of the tunnel, and I don't know, it's just like, it's wild.
It is.
Adapt but still stay the course, right? And figure out different ways to do things and make it happen. So what advice, one last question, so what advice, or maybe this is a bullet point, like 2-part answer or something, but what advice would you give someone who's watching right now that has this itch to try to begin to take a leap. It doesn't have to be this massive leap, but a step, right? Like what would you recommend somebody does to, like, if they have this burning passion in there and they're like, I could never do that.
Yep.
I have to do this instead, or blah, blah,
Right.
blah. Like, what would you tell somebody?
I mean, I still honestly believe in, as much as I don't want to make this about money, like you got to have your money right. You know what I mean? Really think long and hard about what you're doing, especially if you're providing for someone other than yourself. If
Mm-hmm.
20-some-year-old watching this, you don't have a house and cars and kids and wives and other things to take care of, it's easier to take that leap of faith. Bag that job you hate, go for it. But if you
Mm-hmm.
got people that are relying on you
Yeah.
for insurance and income and mortgage payments and car payments and life insurance and health and
Yeah.
everything that goes along with being an adult, then you really have to step outside and look at this as almost like an accountant. In fact, I would call in an accountant and I would say, here's what I did last year. I feel like if I was full time, I could do X many more shows. Is this enough? Is this enough to live on? And then again, think about taxes. Think about the fact that you don't have a job that's providing health insurance anymore. Like, you really have to think about the money, about the budget, about that more
Yep.
than or just taking this like reckless leap of faith, because
Yeah.
worst thing you could do is do that and then put yourself into a hole or into massive debt trying to become what you think you should become.
Mm-hmm.
So that's advice one. Think about financially, if this is the right move for you. Advice number two, I mean, as the DJs that are watching this, I mean, you should probably, even in this troubled times, be raising your prices. We are, and whether it's my personal rate or even the rate I charge for my guys, I think we're highly underpaid, undervalued for what we bring to an event.
Mm-hmm.
So raise your prices, even if it's just incrementally, or you raise your dance floor lighting or your up lighting prices. Like, raise your prices. Even, yes, in 2021, yes, after being out of work for a year, I promise you, nobody notice these small incremental jumps. Am I saying go out there and double your stuff? No, I'm not. Incrementally do that.
That's smart.
Yeah, when your side hustle equals your income, DJ
Yep.
Rods. I kind of
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
just think about it and don't be reckless. This is not an overnight decision. There are a lot of things that I want or want to do or want to buy. And sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit on this for a week.
Yep.
If it goes away, then that means I wasn't supposed to do it. Like, whereas when I was younger, I'd be like, I want to buy that. I'm going to buy it. Click buy.
Yep.
Now it's like, okay, I'm going to sit on this a week. And I guarantee after a week, I'm normally like, I don't need that.
Yeah.
Same thing
with just like taking that total look at your whole life, not just like I'm doing this and I'm leaping. It's like, whoa, you gotta like check yourself, really like check all of your like environment and your family and what really you've got to take care of, number one, and like see, and then yeah, exactly, when your side hustle becomes equal to like a sustainable income for either yourself or maybe you have children, you got to think about that stuff, because that's the thing too, like take the leap. It's like, well, take the leap responsibly. Like,
Yeah.
you've got to think about it, and it doesn't mean you have to put that on the back burner forever. It might mean like living your passion is alongside your full-time 9 to 5, and you're still balancing out your life and you're still sharing your Dharma with the world, like your true Dharma. And it's like, that's great advice, because there's some people who, you don't want to crash and burn, and it's scary. And when I personally first took that leap from social work to trying to teach yoga full time, I was broke. I was single. I was living in a 400 square foot apartment by myself. I ate oatmeal like every day because I'm like, this will keep me full for a while. I don't think I can buy eggs like this week or whatever I was eating at the time. I was like, ugh. And it was tight. And I barely made it with 2 other jobs. I had a restaurant job and part-time social work. And I had, at one time I had 10 jobs. I was at a salon at the front desk. I was teaching a little bit. I was doing a side social work thing. I was also like babysitting for a friend. It was like too much, but also I just was in that place where I could do that. I only had so many expenses, and I did make that meet every month, but there was very little left over, and it was terrifying. But also, you know, things move, just trusting that things are going to shift and like stay the course and like adapt and shift as needed. But you're right, like taking that advice is great. Take a whole look. And then also, I said this in the last call too, but someone had said to me, like, keep a book. Anything that inspires you, just put it in a book. Either write it down, make a scrapbook, write down your goals. Like, what do you want in 3 years? What do you want in 10 years? And then go back from there and then work it down to like, what's my monthly goal? What's my weekly goal? And some years, no, it's in some months, it could be, I just want to get out of bed and like feel happy when I get out of bed. And that might be a goal. It has a lot to do with your path, really, because you want to be aligned in yourself deeply before you go and kind of shift that into more of a, you know, you up level yourself and your vibe, and then eventually like that thing is that much closer to reach because you're feeling good and you have that inner energy for it, and that fire can burn. But
I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. Anything you want to share?
No, follow Malaika. She's got a good vibe, and she's in Key West now, but she says they're heading back. Where's it again? Is it Maine or
Vermont?
This every time.
Yeah, Maine, Vermont, Burlington, Vermont. Yep, in the summer.
Vermont, so you can see literally the southernmost part of Florida, or one of the northern eastern states very soon. So follow her, and
Thanks,
for
Joe.
here, all my DJ friends, thank you guys for showing up today and supporting everything that I do, and you guys keep hustling out there. I know that some states are more open than others, but it's coming back. It's coming back for sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
And you're a very busy guy. And thank you everybody for watching. This will also be saved in my Instagram live TV section in my Instagram. And it'll also be on my YouTube channel as well, which is Malaika Yoga. And follow Joe Bunn. He's got awesome content on all the time, very creative. And yeah, thank you all so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day and week. And Joe, I'll see you.
I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.